What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 36 of Breaking Bats presented by Not For Long Media. I'm your host, Brian O'Grady. With me, as always, my co host, Justin Ayers. JA, I'm back in America. We are not that far apart anymore. We got playoff baseball on. Just watched the Phillies win. Watched the Mariners put up 4 early on the Astros. That game's still going on right now. But what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm great, man. It's great to have you back in the United States. It'll make scheduling things so much easier, and I don't have to figure out 13-hour time differences anymore. But selfishly, I was a little bit glad that you came back just for that reason, just so we could, schedule these a little easier. But it's been great. This playoff, it has not disappointed. Every single series has been electric. We're gonna obviously talk more about the Padres and Mets with our guy Woods here coming up soon. It's a little primer. But yeah, I'm watching the M's right now. They just hit everything. So it's so much fun to watch. And in playoff picks in our wild card round, you went 1 for 4 and I went 2 for 4. So it's not like I can really raise a banner for that, but it's better.
You beat me. Very good to be back. Much easier on scheduling, much easier, much better Wi-Fi in my house, which I'm thankful for. Uh, Obviously good to see my wife and daughter, which is very amazing too. But yes, playoff baseball. Man, the first round was great. I was wrong. I'm glad I was wrong about the Padres and the Mets. I'll take my World Series pick going down. But uh, some awesome series too, man. Phillies looked good. The Cleveland and Tampa series, what an ending with the walk-off homer. Uh, Man, it's been so much fun already. And yeah, Mariners roughing up Verlander a little bit to start the game. It's fun to watch.
The M's can swing it, and our guy Adam Frazier is red hot. He's white hot at the plate. Every single at bat hit.
Two good stories there. Frazier had a little disappointing season for himself, or by his standards, and like you said, red hot right now, swinging it really well. Had that huge double in the game winning inning there. And then Trent Grisham from the Padres. Tough season for him too, and what a series he had with the Mets going homer off Scherzer and DeGrom, and just a great series for him. So pretty cool to see, two guys kind of bounce back a little bit there in the postseason.
It's the best. Yeah, the playoffs. It always has these unlikely hero stories, which we'll talk more about. But it's been so much fun to watch. But before we get to some news, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Som Sleep. Are you having trouble getting enough sleep at night? Brian drinking coffee at 4 p.m, so he probably will be. Som Sleep has you covered. The scientifically advanced Som snack includes ingredients that are naturally found in your body like GABA, magnesium, and melatonin. Sleep is the best form of recovery, and it's helped people everywhere take their game to the next level. It's simple. All you have to do is drink one serving just 30 minutes before bed, and your body will naturally calm itself down. Other sleep supplements leave you feeling groggy in the morning, but not Som Sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to conquer your day. Go to getsom.com, click shop, and enter the code BATS, B-A-T-S, at checkout for 10% off of your entire order of Som Sleep. All right, a couple non-playoff related, well, I guess it kind of is playoff related because these guys are on playoff rosters. In the news category, Spencer Strider. We've given him a lot of love on this podcast this season for good reason. The Braves just have been rolling, and he's a large part of that. They agreed to a 6-year, $75 million extension. It has a $22 million club option for 2029. This extension buys out his final 2 pre-arbitration seasons, all 3 arbitration seasons, and his first free agent campaign. That club option would get his second free agent campaign locked up there. So it's a weird structure. He's going to make $1 million next year and the year after, $4 million the year after that, and then it goes up to $20 million and then $22 million. So Strider, 11-5, 2.67 ERA. We're big fans. The mustache is rocking, but how does Atlanta keep doing this with their young talent when it seems like no other organization can do it? I think MLB Network tweeted out this graphic of notable Braves under team control. Guys like Austin Riley, 10-year extension. Matt Olson, 8 years. Acuna, 8 years. Strider, 6. Michael Harris, 8. Albie, 7. What it is it about Atlanta that these guys can all just stay together and be a cohesive unit for like a decade?
I think Atlanta's just not afraid to do it. I think Atlanta's offering it or wants to get something done, and these guys are like, okay. I think the majority of guys in the league would be open to something like that. Like I've said this before on here that I'm all for these guys taking this money right now. $75 million. He's very set. Doesn't have to worry about anything anymore. And when he's finished with this contract, if he pitches like they're assuming he will, he's going to make plenty more after it too. So it's all gravy. I mean, he's good. I would say that the only risk is on Atlanta's side is if something he gets hurt. Unfortunately, hoping that's not the case at all. But Atlanta's believing in him, and I think so. I think most teams are just afraid to kind of take that risk. Is what it comes down to. Obviously, Atlanta is blessed with not blessed, but has worked hard to find guys like this that they feel are worthy of extensions like this. But man, good for them locking them up. Great core right there, assuming these guys keep progressing and getting better. And when I look at the numbers, the Albies deal definitely looks like a bargain to me. But the other ones, are they worth more? Probably, but I would they're making plenty of money. So good for these guys, good for the Braves getting it done. And I think it's a great model.
I've actually come around on the idea of these kind of contracts. I know when we talked about the Michael Harris extension, 8 years, 72 mil, I was kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, he could get so much more money. But all of these guys, I feel like, are being locked up when they're like 21. Like, I think Strider's 23. So it's like, by the time they get these deals over with and they get back to regular free agency, they're going to be like in the peak prime of their like careers. And they're probably going to go out and get, double dip and get a second go at it with a big contract on free agency. So I like it. It's a win-win-win. Yeah, it's a win for all sides. So, it just makes me, as a non-Braves fan, I just get jealous. I think that's mostly what this comes down to. I'm like, well, shit. How are they doing this? And the other teams can do it.
Absolutely. I think it starts by Atlanta's not afraid. They're willing to do it, and they have multiple young guys that they've, developed that are worth it. I don't think every other team has this many guys who are that young or who are, or that they view as worth it to offer that to.
It's insane. So I had this is a weird one. This is a weird story. It's about Aroldis Chapman. So Bob Nightingale put this tweet out the other day. Yankees pitcher Aroldis Chapman said he would attend their mandatory workout if he definitely was going to be on their postseason roster. The Yankees couldn't give him that assurance. Chapman stayed in Miami. The Yankees told him to stay there. His career as a Yankee is over. This is, of course, the final year of a 3-year deal. He had a 4.46 ERA this season. But how strange is this? Like, the quotes coming out after that, like the manager, Aaron Boone, was like, it's a little disappointing. And then Brian Cashman just didn't hold back, and he said, there was no legitimate reason why he wasn't here. He's employed to provide work. The postseason roster hadn't been set. We hadn't even had our meetings yet. We still haven't had that meeting. He chose not to come. Can you take me through what workouts are they talking about, and how big of a deal is it if you don't come?
So for them, because they wanted to, they're second, so they get the one of the buys. They're sitting there for a decent, I don't know the exact amount of time, but a decent amount of time without playing games after the season ends. So they're probably just going to do live at bats to try to keep everybody sharp and, seeing the ball and everything like that, because you sit there for a week without hitting off real pitch. And it's like, you got to get your whole timing back and everything. That's a long time as a hitter. So I'm assuming that's what they were doing. And yeah, you better be there. I mean, you don't miss anything. Like, that's your job, unless, barring, like they said, some unfortunate circumstances, family things, or bad, like you're talking bad things. You're not talking I don't feel good, or am I on the postseason roster, or something like that. You want to know one way to definitely not be on the postseason roster is what he just did. But there you go. So obviously things have been a little dicey there for some of the season. Now he hasn't been pitching great, and I don't just there's the tattoo story, which we're gonna touch on later. he's not what he once was. At least the numbers are saying that, and I think maybe sometimes guys don't realize that. They still see themselves as the same and think, maybe this is something he could have got away with a few years ago, but not anymore. So crazy story. I mean, yeah, obviously the reports were out there that he might not make the postseason roster anyway. Maybe that was just really, really bothering him, and he said, "Screw it." I don't know, man. He thought he was done, but yeah, crazy story. It's you don't miss those practices.
Yeah, the word mandatory I feel like is the key word there because maybe it's like in the NFL world where it's like optional like these mini camps, these workouts, or like a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers doesn't really show up to. It's like okay, well they don't really have to be there. But yeah, if you're just sitting there for a week and you need to get back into game shape, you need to be here. And then the GM was like, "There's no legit reason why he wasn't here." So it's tough. It's a tough scene. So the Yankees will be without Aroldis Chapman this playoff. But the other thing I want to touch on quickly with the playoffs going on was the Tampa Bay Rays. So Brian and I both had them advancing past the wild card round. The Cleveland Guardians, they took them out. They were swept over the weekend. Game 2, 15 innings. It was a 1-0 game. I was like out. I was watching college football. I went to the Navy football game. I kept checking on my phone. I'm like, they're still going. It was like a 5-hour game. A couple quick stats about this game. The Rays had 3 runners get to third base the entire time. They had 6 hits. They struck out 20 times in 54 plate appearances. And in that whole series, they scored 1 run total and had 9 hits in 2 games in like 24 innings or whatever. So I looked up. I was trying to figure out what the team was saying. The manager, Kevin Cash, said, I saw guys trying to do too much. They felt like they were looking for the 3-run home run with nobody on base. Can't take that mindset against good pitching. Is that kind of how you feel too? This is a team that obviously had aspirations of going way deeper, and then 1 run in 24 innings. It doesn't really seem like that got it done.
Yeah, they definitely were struggling offensively for a little bit, anyway. But run out Shane Bieber and Tristan McKenzie, 2 good pitchers in the playoffs. That's really tough. First of all, congratulations to the Guardians. That was awesome. Oscar Gonzalez, the walk-off homer, that was really off Kluber, which is crazy how that worked out. But back in Cleveland. But man, and shout out to Tyler Glass now coming back and throwing 5 amazing innings too after rehabbing all year. You got to score to win at the end of the day. So 1-0, that sucks. But yeah, you can't when you're facing pitchers like that, man. You just got to take what they give you, and if they miss bad and put one right down the middle, you might see a homer then. But if you're up there trying to just hit homers off of Bieber and McKenzie or guys like that, it's just not going to work. This stuff's too good. And for the Rays too, on top of that, missing Brandon Lau during this run, and he's hurt a lot of the season. Same with Mike Zunino is out for the whole year. Those are 2 of their power guys right there, so that definitely hurts. But the Rays will be back like they always are, but definitely disappointing offensive season for them.
Especially, you're right, because the pitching performances on the Rays side of things were so great. You're right. Tyler Glasnow was like 5 innings, 2 hits. Like Pete, unfortunately, had a little mishap there. He had a circulation issue and had to come out of the game. And then Jason Adam comes in, was like bases loaded, nobody out, and doesn't give up a run. Like their pitchers just came up clutch the entire time, and you kept waiting for the bats to wake up and the big hit to come, and they just never did. So I imagine that's got to be very frustrating if you're in that locker room where it's like, really, if we just would have scored a couple times, we would have won. That's got to be tough.
So it's definitely tough. It's not because guys weren't trying. Everyone knows that, but it's unfortunate when it happens that way, and it's not fun to be one of those guys and have to go into the off season thinking about that for the rest of the time too. But talk to Pete. Pete's okay, thankfully. But yeah, tough timing was his statement there. Just unfortunate, but the Rays, man, going to be this time next year, and we'll be talking about them again, figuring out how to win a playoff series. They just reload and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, 2 last things for everybody before we get to our interview this week. We have our Fudge-Ing Awesome Moment of the week, and it's Mariners themed.
Love the Mariners. They might make the run and make us sound good like from the beginning of the year when we made our predictions. But the Fudging Awesome Moment of the Week is brought to you by our sponsor, the original Fudge Kitchen. You can find them online at fudgekitchens.com. They ship sweet treats and fudge all over the country. Summer is basically long gone, but if any of our Jersey Shore Philly listeners are down there for whatever, they have locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. Go in there and check them out. They're phenomenal. I'm about to order some tomorrow now that I'm back. And you can find them at fudgekitchens.com. They ship all over the country.
All right, so I mentioned it. It's Mariners team. The Mariners advanced to the ALDS. That's their first postseason series win since 2001, first postseason appearance since 2001. The fans in Seattle and baseball town, they haven't had a lot to cheer for, but there was a fantastic viral video on Monday. It was in a Toyota dealership in Seattle. It was 3 friends and coworkers in the service department. They celebrated the M's win by doing the Mariners' signature dance circle celebration. And my favorite moment of the entire thing is when a man who comes in out of frame just comes skipping into it, and then he joins in on the he makes it a 4-man dance circle. Little skip to Malou there. It was awesome to see for the city of Seattle, that comeback in game 2, down 8-1, and then they just ripped off 9 runs. I mean, in 4 innings. I mean, it was a fantastic video. If you haven't, go check it out. It's all big on Twitter. But I mean, this Mariners team, they don't know when to stop, man. There's a lot of fight in them.
What a comeback. Seriously, that was phenomenal. But man, just I don't know. They're starting to look like a team of destiny. I don't know what the score is now, but getting the Verlander to start this game, the walk-off homer, Cal Raleigh to send them to the playoffs is just, I don't know, man. They could be getting hot at the right time, and they could be a very scary team. But definitely fun to watch. Cool video, and yeah, what a time for Seattle fans.
20 years of just nothing, like not even like a wild card berth in there at all. It's just been 20 years of no postseason baseball. I mean, they've had the Seahawks have been great, so it's not like that the whole city's been a wash. So they've had stuff to cheer for, but for baseball in Seattle, it's great to see. And they're winning 6-3 when we're taping this. So, but when you're listening to this, the game will obviously be done. But shout out the M's. All right, and last but not least, before we get to Woods, we have our top 5 for the week. To recap last week's top 5, I won. It was 88-12. So shout out me. It's just, sometimes you were feeling it, and sometimes you're not, and I was feeling it. So
you got some bot burners on there voting for you, I think.
The bots are out. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, that's you.
I don't know. The Justin Army is strong. So for this week's top 5, so David Robertson, this is the origin of this. David Robertson is a relief pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. He strained his calf while jumping up in the air to celebrate Bryce Harper's home run in the wild card series. In honor of that, we're going to be taking a look at the top 5 weirdest baseball injuries. I can't think of any more weird injury than straining something celebrating. I mean, that's hard.
Sorry, before we get to that, wasn't the NFL kicker buried like a game-winning field goal or something, and he like broke his leg jumping? I'm pretty sure it happened. Martin Gramatica is coming to my mind. He made a field goal and was jumping around and like broke his leg or something afterwards. Went there, tore his ACL, like something crazy when we were young.
Yeah. You gotta be careful when you're celebrating. You always gotta watch out for what's around. So I will start us off at number 5. I have in 1990 Glenn Allen Hill. I think he played for the Blue Jays. He had a nightmare, and he was being attacked by spiders, and he was running through his house, and he fell through a glass table, suffered bruises on his feet, legs, and elbows, and had to go on the DL. So spiders suck, but I mean, that's tough. That's a tough scene for Glenn Allen Hill. Number 4, 2004, Sammy Sosa sneezed so hard he sprained a ligament in his lower back. I mean, that's kind of a joke on Twitter. Yeah, you've done that?
I've sneezed and thrown out my back before. That is true.
What is up with these athletes? How do you do that?
Sorry, I was actually sitting at breakfast with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, literally in Louisville, and I don't know if I was like reaching for something, but literally just sitting there, sneezed, and I was like, oh, got hurt, and like just slowly. We were playing a Sunday day game too. It just like slowly as I was sitting there, it's just getting worse and worse to the point where I was like, I can't play today. I ended up going on the IL for 10 days. And that was like the only time I've been on the IL in like years.
Holy shit, you actually did that.
I swear to God. My wife is my witness. I did it.
Damn, you and Sammy. That's insane. So that was number 4.
Powerful sneezes.
You're just 2 powerful dudes. Yeah. All right. Number 3, 2019, Yoenis Cespedes broke his ankle when a wild boar charged at him and he stepped in a hole. Just an insane. When that story came out in spring training that year, where it's like, oh, he's what? What happened to Cespedes? Oh, it's a wild boar on his ranch. It's not great. Number 2, 1992, Tom Glavine broke 2 ribs because he was puking so hard because he had food poisoning from eating airline food. What a Mad Libs headline that is.
That's terrible.
Two ribs broken. And that's every comedian's like opening bit from like 1990 something. It's like, oh, what's the deal with airline food? It's like, well, it'll give you food poisoning. So that is number 2. And number 1, this one holds a special place in my heart. In 2002, Marty Cordova, while he was on the Orioles at the time, he fell asleep in a tanning bed. He got really, really bad sunburn, and he had to miss a few games. And why it's so special is because I got to interview the guy sitting behind me. If you can look, if we're watching on video, Rodrigo Lopez was his teammate back in 2002. And I asked him about it, and I was like, what did the guys in the clubhouse think when Marty showed up with this tanning bed burn? And he said that everybody made fun of him, and that the trainer at the time, who was like part Cuban, called him El Stupido. So 2002, that's Marty hilarious. Cordova, and then Jim Rome ripped him a new ass on the radio. So that is my 5 through 1. Just a hilarious combination of injuries there.
Unreal. Real quick before I get to mine, it was not Martin Gramatica, it was his brother Bill, who was kicking for the Arizona Cardinals, and he hyperextended his right knee and went down, jumping in the air to celebrate after a first quarter field goal against the New York Giants. So it did happen.
I guess he's not Automatica.
Nice. But anyway, back to baseball. My number 5 is Zach Plesac. He had a non-displaced fracture in his right thumb from taking off his undershirt and getting it caught in a chair in the locker room. I don't really know how that happens, but that's a rough one right there. So that's number 5. Number 4 is going to be this year, and I could have easily put this higher because I think this is just so ridiculous, was Aroldis Chapman getting a leg infection from a tattoo that he got during the season. Had to go on the 15-day IL, which is just that's can't even. I don't know how you tell anybody that. That's terrible. Anyway, move on. We got Jesus Luzardo here, who fractured his left pinky playing video games. I still don't know how that happens either, but he actually pitched originally and pitched pretty well, but then they found out about it afterwards. So yeah, video games, broken pinky. That was number 3. So number 2 is going to be Hunter Strickland. He was lifting and he dropped the barbell on his nose, doing hip exercises that didn't work out very well. And he was actually pitching really well at the time and broke his nose, missed the time. But yeah, you need a spotter sometimes. Hunter Strickland was a big dude too, so that's pretty embarrassing for another big dude. And then number 1 is Carlos Correa. He got a rib fracture from getting a massage. I don't really know how that's a rough massage right there, but yeah, he was complaining about rib cage soreness. Kept him on the lineup for a few days, and they ended up getting an X-ray, and his rib was fractured. He got a massage, I believe, at his house, from not like the trainers, and fractured his rib. So not very relaxing there, but those are my 5.
That's insane. I really wanted, as an honorable mention, to talk about John Smoltz burning himself when he was trying to iron a shirt that he had on. But I've heard that story has been debunked, which really makes me upset because that's my all-time. If that would have been true, that's my all-time favorite. Like, he put a dress shirt on and he was in a hurry. I mean, who hasn't been in a hurry when you're trying to get out the door somewhere and you got dress clothes on? But, I thought he burned himself back in the day. Didn't. So,
Ironing something, wearing it is, that's all time. That would not be a good idea. Hilarious.
There's another quick honorable mention. It was like Brian Anderson, who I think used to pitch for the Giants. It was like the early 2000s, late 90s. He burned his face on an iron because he couldn't tell if the iron was hot or not. so he wanted to hold it up to his face to tell, and then he like turned back and just singed his face with an iron. So go on the internet and Google some of these weird baseball injuries. Guys tripping over dogs, running upstairs. Trevor Bauer cutting his finger with a drone. Like, we could have done a top 30, each one of us, on weird baseball injuries.
It's insane. You gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful out there.
It's a rough world out there. Two last things before we get to our interview this week. We wanted to give a quick shout out to friend of the podcast, Actions Over Words. They're an apparel brand with the mission of encouraging people to use their actions instead of their words. Founded in Cape May, New Jersey by Alec Levin. They donate $5 of every sale to different charities around the world. So check them out at actionsoverwordsapparel.com and use the promo code N4L. You get 10% off of your order, tees, hats, hoodies, and more. And finally, check out our Not For Long Media family of podcasts. Tons of great content for you guys to check out, especially during football season. The Colin Thompson Show with our guy CT. Not For Long Media podcasts, including Two Girls, One League, G's, Harry Mays, Jason Bertidis, two great Philly dudes. So check them out. Not For Long Media family of podcasts has a lot to offer. So this week, it's a great interview. We just got done taping it. Little time travel here. Your guy Woods from Ben and Woods. I'm so glad we finally got him back on. I think we had him on in like February or something. So it's been a long time coming. It's been great.
Yeah, so he was on the first episode, and I did it by myself. I forget what you were doing then, but it was the only one that I did by myself. So this was, you got to meet him finally. But yeah, half of the Ben and Woods show. He's phenomenal. He's hilarious. Just catching up on the Padres year and the playoffs so far, and then looking to the Dodgers series that starts tonight when we're taping this. But he's excited about the Dodgers series. We'll say that and let you guys listen to the rest of it. But great dude, great to get his updates from out there in San Diego. Yep, let's send it over to an interview with Stephen Woods from Ben and Woods Show. And joining us today on Breaking Bats from 97.3 The Fan, Stephen Woods of Ben and Woods, my buddy. What is going on, brother? He's wearing a Votto Still Bang shirt for people who are not watching, just listening, and it's beautiful. So, Woodsy, what's going on, buddy?
It's good to talk to you, man. Welcome back from Japan. I'm sure you're glad to be home. I'm sure Delaney has already said, "All right, take the baby. I'm leaving." My wife does that to me, and I'm gone after I'm gone for like 6 hours. So I can't imagine being gone for a few months. Like, okay, see you later. Take her. But welcome back, man. I know you're stoked to be home.
Yeah, man, it's great. And she's definitely passed her off some, but there's still some things I need to learn and get better at right now. So she can't just fully leave me by myself just yet. So I still got that going for me. But
one thing you'll find, and don't tell her I said this because I like Delaney a lot, but I like my wife a lot. But one thing you will eventually find is like, no, go ahead. Like, go to the salon, go do whatever you want to do, because it's much easier to be a parent without someone lording over you in the background. Like, no, do it like this, do it like this. Once you get it all dialed in, you're like, why don't you go for a weekend? We'll be fine. Like, I got two boys, so I'm like, go have fun, and we'll be great here, and we'll trash the house, and then we'll get it clean before you get home. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah,
sounds about right. But we'll get there. But no, it's great to be back. I don't know what I'm doing perfectly yet, that's for sure, but I know I love her a lot, and that's all that matters, and we'll figure it out as we
figure it out as you go. Yep.
But very happy. But obviously your Padres got into the playoffs and have already won their first round. We'll get to that in a couple minutes here, but let's rewind and just what were your thoughts on the season? I know it was at points a little hairy there. But yeah, thoughts on the season and then making it into the playoffs.
It's been so fun to cover, and I hate that. I love this time of year because I love the playoffs. It's nerve-wracking having the boys in there. We've covered them since well before spring training started. We were at spring training. We were sitting at spring training when we got the news about Tatis going out, and we got our chance to meet Bob Melvin. Talking to Manny in spring training, like it's a whole different team, and you just hope everybody gels. And then, of course, the crazy ass trade deadline was a blast for us. I mean, you couldn't ask for a team. You couldn't ask for a team with more like more content. I mean, the content just never ended with this team. Some of it shitty, some of it really great, but it just never stopped. And then it was hairy, man. It was a little bit hairy, but I got this real feeling of zen towards the end of the year, where I was like, hey, we've got the talent. I trust in Bob. Everyone needs to shut up, relax. I sent out a pretty gnarly tweet from me. Like, it basically said, look, peace and love to everyone with this tweet, but y'all need to chill the fuck out about micromanaging every single. Why is he hitting? Somebody made a good point, Brian, and you know this. It's a macro sport, right? You have to look at that as a whole. Like, you cannot look pitch to pitch or live pitch to pitch, because if you're a player, you'll burn out. If you're a manager, you'll burn out. And the fans, like, you're going to burn out after 40 games. So it's hard, man. We're supposed to parse through every inning and every pitch, but like, you just at some point have to trust that these are our guys, and they're either going to get the job done or they're not, and we need to root hard for them. And like, let's stop micromanaging every fucking decision that Bob Melvin makes. Like, he's the man. He's the guy. He knows more than you do. He knows who's putting in work, who's not. He knows who went out drinking the night before. He knows the right guy to be in the lineup and when. And I have an enormous amount of faith in him. And by all accounts, the players just adore that guy. They adore him.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard somebody say anything bad about Bob Melvin.
Never.
So
Literally
ever.
Like, and you would know, guys you played with, guys you played against. I mean, we talk to everybody, man. We talk to media, because when you hear a new guy's coming to town and you're like, oh, you see the accolades and the record and this, that, and the other. But then you want to get the real story. So we start talking to our friends in the media, and they're like, dude, the guy is 100% on time all the time. So that's a big one with me. Like, he's never late. He takes it seriously. He knows you have a job to do. And then the ultimate communicator with his players. And I mean, for you, like, imagine having a manager, that said, Brian, you're not going to play today. You might get in against a righty, but you're definitely playing tomorrow. Like, those conversations, I don't think were being had because, guys were afraid to hurt feelings or whatever. And Bob is just this really good communicator and lays it out. And every guy has said to a man, no, like, the way he communicated with me, and even when I was struggling, he believed in me. I just love the guy, man. I would run through a wall for him. I think he's the right guy, for a long time here.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a player, all you can ask for is communication, and honest communication, because as long as you know what the deal is, I mean, good or bad, hurts or feels good about it, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If you know the truth, that's all you can ask for. Because
that's it, man. Give me the good, give me the good and the bad, the ugly, whatever. Like, I can handle it. I'm a man. Like, just tell me.
Exactly.
Am I part of the long term? If I'm not, then let me do my thing. But those guys, like think about Trent Grisham, man. The guy was dying, just couldn't swing the bat, like paralyzed with fear or unsure, anxiety, whatever it was. He just couldn't swing the bat. I mean, balls are like right to 92 down the middle, and it's like, bro, hammer that thing. Like, you can hit that. And Bob stuck with him, man, and told him all year, our best lineup is when you're in it. Like, the best version of the Padres has a healthy, productive Trent Grisham in it. What does he do? Goes in the playoffs and just goes off. And I'm elated for Trent. Like, I'm so happy for him, because 90% of the fan base wanted him cut, and that's what fans do.
Yeah, and that's a good little segue here. So Grish, I mean, I was close with Grish when I was there. I played against Grish originally when he was with the Brewers in the minor leagues. And I was on my way out of AA to AAA, and he was like just there for the first time. And I told him this too, so I'm not talking shit. He was the worst player I've ever seen. He could not hit a fucking beat. He came up to the plate, and I was like not even paying attention to the outfield. I was like, this is a strikeout. I swear to God. And he was, we had this whole conversation. And then I went to AAA, And then the next year I'm in AAA, but he's in AAA, but he's in the other league, and he gets called up, and I'm like, that fucking guy. And I look, and his numbers were like outrageous. He started the year in AA, hit like 400, gets moved up to AAA, hit like 500 for a month, and they call him up. And I was like, that dude, that guy. And, so that's him. But my point to that whole story is I have so much respect for him, man, because he's a mentally tough dude. Because, people remember the error in the playoffs. He came back the next year, got traded, but won a Gold Glove. So that right there tells you he's a tough dude. And now the next example is this season was a struggle, and look at him in the playoffs against two of the best pitchers in the game. Homers back-to-back games off DeGrom and Scherzer. I mean,
ever,
phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal, man, and just incredible, and incredible defense. And I had made the case a couple of weeks before the playoffs started that, hey, man, when it's the playoffs, you don't fuck around. Like, plenty of teams roll guys out there that can't hit a lick, and they're out there for their glove. Austin Hedges is one of them in Cleveland. There's a bunch of guys, man. If you look around, guys that just aren't known for their bat. Grish has, and I said, guys, he's got 17 bombs and 53, 54 ribs at the time. So it's in there. That's a pretty – I know the average sucks, right now. But, man, if the guy can run into 17 bombs in a down crap year and 50 RBI in a down crap year and play, phenomenal defense. He had this one little weird skid where he didn't play well defensively, but, but Melvin riding with him and, like, throwing him in there. And I said, guys, it's the playoffs. Like, we've all watched playoffs before where Howie Kendrick or Shane Spencer or Chad Curtis or Scott Brocious, like, they explode for whatever reason. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense. Superstars will take, go 0 for 9 and, some guy hitting in the 8 or 9 hole, like, they take their foot off the gas and they hang a slider, they throw a fastball, and it's done. 3-run homer. And it's like, holy shit, look at that. And, so I said, believe in the magic of the playoffs that can happen. And really, like, I'm putting my best defense out there every time because, Jeff McNeil and guys like that are gap to gap, like, bro, I want Trent Grisham out there running down those balls, and damned if he didn't run down 3 or 4 in that series too. Yep. So
Grish is a good player, man. It's a tough year, but he can hit and he can play defense, and yes, he definitely helps that team. So hopefully, see that continue in this Padres series. But yeah, I was pumped to see that personally. But
it was awesome.
Before we get to Musgrove, before I give it to JA and we get to Musgrove's performance and the rest of it, how were you feeling going into that series and into the game one? I mean, they got off to a good start, right? The Bell homer was
amazing,
awesome. That was cool. Just epic, on the road, just everything about that. He struggles with the Padres too. What were your feelings going into it, and then how about that first game?
Again, strangely zen about it. Excited, obviously, for the game, but I knew the Mets had really struggled down the stretch, and I had posed the question to a couple of guys that we had on. Hey, man, you blow I think they said they were in first place for like 185 days, which is so long to not be in first place and to have to use, look at the Padres. And I think a lot of the bulletin board type material got back into the clubhouse, and, Padres were picked out of 12 to have the number 12 pitching rotation. And, they saw that, all these things that happened. They had, I guess the Mets had, I've been talking to BOG. She says hi. So the Mets had their plan for the Padres, then the Dodgers, like on the whiteboard. And that shit goes into the locker room, and you guys are like, here we go. Like, and we just took it to them, man. The funny thing is I didn't get nervous in game 1. Game 2, I got hammered. So I blacked out the last 3 innings. So I have no idea. And then game 3, it was never in doubt. Like, the 2 wins were not close, nail-biting wins. Like, we kicked the shit out of those guys. It wasn't even close. So it was really fun. Now, this series is going to be a little more nerve-wracking. We hate the Dodgers. I have no respect for them. I can't stand their fans. I'll say it with my whole chest. They're sacks of shit. I can't stand them. Like, I just can't stand them. They're fucking dicks. They've come after my family before. Like I fucking hate them. I can't stand them. And I can't stand Dave Roberts. And on down the list, they can all suck my dick. I can't stand any of them. So that's how I feel about the Dodgers.
Oh my God. I will the one thing I did forget in there and then send it over to JA was yeah, the Mets, when we were talking about it, when the Mets said they weren't for sure gonna pitch DeGrom game 2, I'm like, that is bad juju, right? Like,
So
what are
bad,
you doing?
dude.
You can't
So
you
bad.
can't say that. Like, you're asking for it. So I'm with you there on the bulletin board material, but just like the vibes, man, that's just not a smart move in my opinion.
Oh, you
And
go.
yeah, I couldn't believe it.
I mean, you can say all you want, like, well, we were going to give his blister an extra day. Bullshit. If he can pitch, he can pitch. And then if he gets beat, you're like, well, he had a fucking blister. Like, you want to make excuses? Go down. Like I always say, I'm gonna make moves that are gonna, like, you have to take risks from time to time, but like, I'm going to make moves to cover my own ass if I'm the manager, because if I go down, it's going to be with my best guys. Like, I want, like, tonight's lineup. Jake Cronenworth didn't get a knock against the Mets. Bro, Crony's in there. Like, Crony's my guy. And if anyone's like, well, why didn't you start Drury at second? I'm like, because Cronenworth's my second baseman. Like, he's been 158 games plus the playoffs as my second baseman. That's my second baseman. Like, I'm not going to, hey, I'm going to try Josh Bell at second tonight. Like, I'm not going to do anything stupid, but I'm going to go with my guys. And the fact that they even, like, waffled on it and said, well, Scherzer's just as good. And, bro, you got Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom goes game 1, period. And it's in my opinion, could have been a whole different series. He was nasty. Nasty. And Scherzer looked human.
I've been dying to get your take on this. The Joe Musgrove his performance on Sunday night was the stuff of legend, but that substance check in the 6th inning is still really weird to me. What was your take on it? I've been dying to hear it.
I was livid. So I should walk that back. Here's what I understood it in the moment, and I grew up a Yankees fan. My dad was a Yankees fan, and I liked Buck. We've had Buck on our show. By all accounts, Buck is one of the smartest baseball men to ever wear a uniform. Literally, like, he knows so much baseball. I have a massive amount of respect for him. So I understood the check, right? Because I saw the shiny ears, but I'm not a moron. I never, if I saw Joe doing this, like, if I saw him going to his ear, I'd be like, oh shit, what are we doing? Never once. Like, I also happen to know, because I watch every Padres game, Joe Musgrove is the sweatiest. Joe Musgrove and Aroldis Chapman are the 2 sweatiest human beings I've ever seen. Like, Chapman pours sweat. Every hat of Joe's has white salt stains around it. Like, he's a sweaty dude. And I got to imagine in that moment, your heart's beating out of your chest. And so I didn't know what it was. I never saw him go to his ear, though. So I didn't think he was loading up the ball or anything. The other thing I thought was, man, if I'm going to load it up, it's not going to be with something slimy and shiny and look like lube. Like, I'm going to use something sticky. It's going to be dark. It's going to be tacky. So I understood why he went out and did it. Once they fingered his ears and rubbed all around him, and Joe stood there and took it, which I hated that for Joe. I was mortified for him. But he took it. And, dude, once nothing was found, it should have been the end of it. And not one Mets player came out that I know of. I mean, Lindor said he shoved it up our ass. Like, he was unbelievable. He beat us. Not one Mets player said, we think there was something tacky going on. Brian Kenny from MLB Network, dude, I went off on him today. He's obviously a Met fan. He filled his diaper on that show yesterday with graphs and this and that. And, bro, the jumps in spin were like nothing. They were purely adrenaline based. Max Fried had the same jumps today. Then Max went, after he gave up some runs, the adrenaline went down, his spin went down. Shocking how that works. And then the lefty Peterson for the Mets. His spin rates were through the roof. He was amped up. Nobody's accusing anybody else but Joe Musgrove of doing anything to the ball. So Joe is I love the guy because I just love his story, and he's a warrior and a bulldog and all those cliches that we use. Man, his spin rate went up after they checked him, and that to me says, I got you. Like I'm in your head now. It backfired on him. And you don't poke the bear. You just don't. You don't poke the bear. You don't go checking bats for pine tar, and you don't do stupid shit in the playoffs like that. You got beat. They checked him. They found nothing, and that's where it should have died. But Brian Kenny has really pissed off a lot of people in San Diego. That you what you've done now is every time Joe pitches, every time. Now, if he goes out against the Dodgers and gets lit up, as the Dodgers will do to a lot of guys, oh, look who didn't have shiny ears. I mean, it sucks that Buck did that. It sucks that Brian Kenny did it. And I hate that that's going to be the narrative.
I mean, Brian Kenny, he flat out just called him a cheater. I was shocked when I heard that.
I was shocked. I was so mad, man. I was watching it live, and I'm just start rage tweeting through it. I'm furious. And we played the audio today on the air, and yeah, man, I was to call into question somebody's character when in reality you guys just sucked, man. The Mets just sucked. They gave up. They gave up. They got smoked, and you couldn't hit the guy, so he must have been cheating. And I just thought it was trash. And again, my big problem with baseball sometimes is nobody shits on baseball like baseball. Like that's the MLB network. Like the network of MLB, and they come on and they say, what a once in a lifetime experience for this guy, this hometown kid. Let's take a dump all over it. And I hated that, man. And like, you're never going to see that in football, man. Never. They prop their stars up right and wrong. Really, like baseball's biggest problem is old, tired head baseball fans. And I thought Brian Kenny was way out of line. And honestly, I think he owes Joe an apology. And from my understanding, the Padres are none too pleased with MLB Network either, nor should they be.
I mean, we've had Joe on this podcast, and you guys can obviously speak to, because I don't know him that well, but from talking to him, he just seems like the greatest, like high character, like never in a million years would do anything like that. So like, I mean, how weird was that for people to call into question his character in a situation like that?
It was awful, man. And selfishly, we love him. When he threw the no-hitter, we went in and did a special Saturday show, and he called us, that morning and talked to San Diego. And it was one of our most special days as a show. And, for him to be the first guy to throw the no-no you can't write this shit. And so you took away from his really great moment, sending a team that just don't make the playoffs a lot, man. And you've really soiled a guy's reputation that busts his ass. And, even in a down, he had such a great start, then kind of came back to earth a little bit. But you always felt like Joe was going to keep you in the game, every single time. And he gets the big contract. And then to have him take the ball in a do or die and now it be thrown into question, I thought it was really tired from Brian Kenny. And I think even a lot of Mets fans, like smart Met fans, like Paul LaDuca, who can be a jerk sometimes, he was like, guys, we got swept by the Cubs. We got swept by the Braves. We blew a 10.5 game lead, and you guys are worried about Joe Musgrove's ears? Like, fucking stop. We suck. Like, and I said, yeah, man, sometimes you just got to wear it. Sometimes it's not your year. And they didn't hit. They didn't hit. And they're two of their better pitchers got absolutely torched by an offense that doesn't have a lot of offense right now. So it was pretty special for Padre fans, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. Brian, did you want to jump in?
No, I did it. I actually had no idea about the Brian Kenny stuff. So this was interesting hearing the two of you talk about that there. That's crazy that he came out and just called him a cheater. That's wild. Obviously, Joe, I was saying this before he came on here, Joe, I would never think that about Joe. And yeah, he dominated, man. And I'm just pumped for him. Just another, like you've been talking about, Woodsy, with the hometown hometown kid, just adding another story to it. Yeah, I mean, good for
No
him.
question. No question, man. I loved it too. It was really special to see. And, he told Nola walking out, he goes, I'm about to have the game of my life right now. I mean, just to be able to call your shot like that against a really good and scary ass offense with Marte back in it. And, Pete's got 40 something bombs and Lindor and McNeil, like just terrifying hitters, man. Nemo, like up and down that lineup, there's no real weak spots in that's lineup. And he had them just guessing, and he was throwing all his pitches and he was spinning that slider like a madman. So it was fun as hell to watch, dude. I was so hungover and I needed a game like that. I was like laying in bed like this. I never go out. I never drink anymore. I got wrecked during the DeGrom start with a bunch of listeners out at a bar. And I was like, I need this to go smoothly, man. I cannot sit here and have a close game tonight. And he bailed me out. So it was awesome.
So what do you have? Go ahead.
No.
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay. No, I was going to say, like, the Dodgers series coming up, I saw Freddie Freeman had just a terrible quote. He said, they're hot. We've been hot for 7 months. I know the Dodgers took it to the Padres during the regular season, but like when we talk about the playoffs, what do they have to do or continue to do to have success?
I think, I think obviously if you've watched the games today, the teams that had the buys came out a little flat and a little rusty. And I think that's to be expected now. If there's one team that I do feel is maybe above that a little bit, it's probably the Dodgers. I hate them. I hate their fans. I've made it very clear. I don't think their fan base is super knowledgeable about baseball. I think they like going to games, drinking beers, getting in fights. They like the hat. They're fucking dirtbags, man. They really are. Like literally in my DMs, like coming after my kids. So I have no respect for 99% of them. But I'll tell you this, man, as a baseball fan, to watch that team play, they're a unit. They're an absolute unit. They know how to win. I don't know that the layoff's going to affect them very much. I don't. I think they're built to withstand almost anything that comes their way. So, but I don't think they're unbeatable. I don't at all. And I think the Padres have some good momentum right now. The key is going to be, obviously, you got to win one of these games in LA. And I don't know that tonight's the night. Urias is a really tough customer. And the Padres do not hit him well. But if they can find a way to disrupt him a little bit, he's an emotional cat too. Like he does the walk around the mound when he doesn't get a call. He's demonstrative. I hate him because he's a Dodger, but to watch him pitch is pretty remarkable. But if you can mess with his timing a little bit, like you did with Bassett and like you did with Scherzer, and kind of make the game on your terms. And if you can get runs off him early, we can win that ball game. But I think the key is going to be Darvish beating Kershaw tomorrow, and I think we can win that game. I do. They have their lineup is so deep, and their bench is so deep, and their bullpen. I know it's a little bit banged up, but I think their bullpen is really deep, and they've made some smart decisions for once in the postseason. Typically Dave Roberts, 9 times out of 10, Clayton Kershaw is probably getting the ball tonight. And knowing Dave Roberts, who loves like the big moment for his big guys, I was like, God damn it. He fucking made the right decision by starting Urias tonight, because old Dave Roberts is going to start Kershaw. Kershaw's going to get beat, and everyone's going to call for Dave Roberts' head. He probably wanted to start Kershaw tonight, and somebody grabbed him and said, you're an idiot. Start Urias. He dominates the Padres. Let's get this win. So they're actually making smart decisions. They left Craig Kimbrell off the roster. He's been terrible. They have $70 million David Price off the roster. Like, they're doing things smartly for the first time in a while. So, like, I'm a little bit nervous about that. Cooler heads maybe have prevailed in the front office and in the dugout. But I do feel like if you can get Urias out of the game early and let's get Dave Roberts making those moves, I feel like we can beat them, man. I do. I think there's a lot of good momentum for this team right now. They believe in each other. They love being the underdog. And there's one of these teams every single postseason. Why not us? Why not us? The Dodgers have the whole weight of the world on their shoulders. We've got nothing. We're not supposed to be here. Nobody thinks we can win. That old bullshit. Take it, run with it, eat it, sleep it, drink it, and, go out and win. It's 3 games, man. 3 games. And you're heroes forever.
Absolutely, man. It's well said there. I'm so excited to watch this series. I know you are too, and we'll be pulling for the Padres for you guys, so you have some more fun out there. But we really appreciate you coming on and giving us a
My
little
pleasure,
preview
man.
here.
My pleasure.
Man, so
I'm
excited
hyped.
for this.
I know, me
Too.
too.
I'm jealous about the Petco when it comes back to Petco, man. Those games are gonna be nuts.
It's so nuts. Like Friday is, the home game. And this city, Brian, you were here for a short time, man. Like, you've seen how the fans embrace people. You've seen how hungry they are. They are knowledgeable. They are passionate. Yeah, they got really snippy and snappy towards the end of the season, but it's because like it's just been so dire here, like so devoid of any success that people started to lose their minds at the end. And it's kind of like our job to tell them we have a good team. Let's really believe in them and root for them. And but you've seen these fans, man. They're crazy, and nobody deserves it more. I mean, LA's got 100 sports, championships galore, Hollywood. They got everything you could ask for. We've got the Padres, man, and like I love that about this town, dude. I love it. Like my job, I don't want to go anywhere else. Well, I don't want to go where I like have to talk about basketball or football. This is all I want to do is talk about the baseball team in baseball because I mean, I didn't even want to talk about the NFL. Like when all this shit's over, I'll talk about the NFL. I couldn't care less. I know you're excited about your Eagles as you should be, but man, it is it's just this is all I want to do, and no city deserves it more than this city, man. Truly.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you again. We're looking forward to the series and listening to you and Ben talk about it on 97.3 out there afterwards.
Thank you, brother. Good luck to you. Tell Delaney I said hi, and we'll be in touch.